Brendan,
Yeah.
thanks for joining us on the show. Where are you? You just at home getting ready to get on a flight?
I am in my office. Here, I'll rename me so that people are like, wait, why Grant? We'll just go Mando. Um, um, I was running around like a chicken with his head cut off today. But all is well now, and yeah, everything's good. I coach footy, and one of the kids I coach had to go to immigration court today, so she called me and was like, "Hey, can you come with me?" So I took her in and made sure she didn't, get mysteriously kidnapped, which never
Oh
happened.
man,
So it was great. It was really nice.
it's hectic what's going on over there. I really
It's
feel for everybody.
it's I think the portrayal is making it way worse. Not that it's good, but like
Yeah.
like you only see this super heightened thing. So like today when I walked in with this girl, she's like in tears, and I'm like just trying to walk this. She just graduated high school.
Oh
She's
man.
like, I'm gonna get sent back. I'm like, just let's just go see the process. And what's happening is I think a lot of these people are getting so scared to even go through the process that they don't show up, and then it makes it default. Like then you're just gonna get picked up.
Yeah.
So it worked out. And so all I can say is thank God. So
That's good. That's good. That
yeah,
is some good news.
yeah,
But before we begin, I just wanted to say I told my son
yeah.
I would be having a chat with you, and
Where is he?
he's out he's outside. But he did say to tell you that he's a big fan. So Mando is a big deal, and this is my lucky mug when I do interviews. It's a big deal in my household, mate. So
That's cool. I mean, that means for me, that means so much because I'm very fortunate to do what I do. So yeah, tell him this is the way, and that without him, I don't get to do what I do. So I really appreciate it.
oh mate, he's gonna his head's gonna explode. His little head is gonna. That's amazing. That's amazing. But you're coming down to Australia, of course. Is this the first time?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, this is like a bucket list thing for me. So for me, it's like, I don't know if that's gonna stay.
That's all right. That's all right.
Mando
Have a
just he went into the living waters. It's fine.
bug.
Um, the I've so many things at once. But my I started boxing now like 20 years ago. Jeez, I'm old. But it happened to be with a guy who was from Perth, who was Manny Pacquiao's strength and conditioning coach, Justin Fortune, and he became one of my best friends. And when I was really ill before season 2,
Uh,
he was one of the 5 people who, you know, hardened up and walked in and, made sure I was doing okay.
so you used to the accent, I guess.
Oh my God. So it's my whole family because we grew like they grew my girls who are now, 15 to 26,
Yeah.
grew up with Justin, and they all trained with him, and I trained with him. My wife even trained with him for a little bit. And it's hilarious because we would be like, hold on, hold on, hold on. I didn't understand a word you just said. I didn't bring my Australian to English dictionary. And like he would laugh. He'd be like, "Oh yeah, well, push-ups," And then we just even calling them mitts. He's like, "When I do," and I'm like, "You sound like Benicio del Toro from Usual Suspects. I have no idea what you just said to me."
You'll get, I mean, when you come down here, I think you'll tune into it. You go, everything sounds like a backwards record. And then it goes, okay. Like, I get it. I get it. I get what a snag is. I get what
I
button.
found out what a freckle was. Yeah.
But I mean, you do these cons all over the world. Have you had a particular, interaction with a fan that's really moved you or had a great effect on you?
I don't think I've gone to one where I haven't. honestly. The fan interaction is I was raised, being John Wayne's grandson, you kind of either you are affected by it or you hear stories that might affect you, right? And I don't know what it was, just the idea was always ingrained upon me that no matter what I did in life, if I was making a living at it, then that was subject to whomever appreciated what I was doing, whether I was an actor, a lawyer, a doctor, didn't matter, painter. And so my mom instilled that in me, and I always understood to appreciate that. And I got to see it for a long time before I ever had to experience personally. So I'd watch my mom respond to letters to her father or things like that. And so I learned early on that the fans are, you want to definitely, you tend the land, as my mom used to say, with that, and make sure that you're present with them because they do want to hear those, oh yeah, I tripped like 6 times and then we figured out how great the walk was or something. And then you meet kids, and for me, it's almost always the kids, although the adults I've met who've told me these kind of stories. I met a guy who I call one of my good friends who comes and stays with me now. Right before Celebration, it came out, and Leo told me his story, and he'd gotten into depression. He was a law enforcement officer, and he had PTSD, and he was just spiraling. And he said the Mandalorian came out, and it inspired him to work out, get back in shape, and go back to his profession and be a part of it. And like when you hear that's an incredible effect that it's not me. There's no me without we, and that whole crew is we. Um, that's an incredible responsibility. And talk about like you can never not feel good if you did something and it's appreciated, like it's a positive impact. And then you meet these kids like Jace Wars, who's inducted me into his crew, and he's fought cancer
Yeah.
um, and overcome it, or is in the battle of it, and he inspires others. Like that's when you go, okay, look, I love being Mando, and I love shooting them up and throwing a punch and talking to Sigourney Weaver or Carl Weathers, God rest his soul, Ming Na, but it's those people that do the battles in real life where
Yeah.
you're like, I'm lucky to have a positive effect, and I'm glad I do. So yeah, I love meeting the fans, and I love hearing the stories, even the non like tremendously hardship stories, but just the normal like, hey, I get to watch your show with my grandpa, and he doesn't watch anything with me, so it's really cool. And you're like, oh, that's awesome.
It's such a massive thing. Even as I said before, like my son and I, we bond over it. Like we're waiting for more minute. Like every week, we're
Yeah.
screaming, "It's Mando Day!"
Oh,
And it brings people together, mate, and
yeah.
inspires so many people. And I think it's super awesome that you're coming down to Australia to meet Aussie fans. And, even in our backwards accents, we're going to be showering you with respect, and it's a world. Star Wars is such a massive worldwide thing that does bring people together. How do you feel that that's changed your life personally, being brought into that universe of fandom?
I don't think there's anything that can prepare you for it. It's it's overwhelming. They try to tell you things, and they're like, hey, uh, this is a big fandom, and you're like, okay, I don't know if you know this, but my grandfather's John Wayne. I understand big fandom,
Yes.
but you don't understand it when it's you and like you're in it. And that's the perspective that I started to gain. And it's brings me to Spider-Man, which is, you realize you have a certain power in that. And with that comes great responsibility. Um, and so uh, I've never been encumbered by it, you know what I mean? But it is incredible to see the types of people who otherwise would never be in the same room together.
Yeah.
but because of their love or the storytelling of this and the whatever it is, the lineage of it all, um, because of what we do as a crew, every episode, every day we try to do, or for the movie for that matter, um, people come together like, and I honestly I understand that. That's how my mom and I. That was kind of like when we had a hard time figuring out how to talk to each other when I was a teenager or an adult, because I still thought I knew everything. Um, all of a sudden, you go see a movie. Like for me, I'll never forget. Like we saw Star Wars, New Hope, and I'm with my brothers. I'm just a kid, They're a little bit older, I guess. I'm the last of 8 kids, and she had this biggest smile on her face, like she knew she'd done something. Like I just introduced them to something they're gonna love forever. And it's as a parent now, it's the only time I understand it. So to have movies, to be part of movies and shows that help create a dialogue for anybody, for any even if it's just grandpa liked westerns, he hates sci-fi, but this was a western in my sci-fi, and we met. Like those are the things that make me go, we did it.
Yeah.
We accomplished something. Like that's incredible. Like, and I don't think I'll ever get to the point where I can look down from it. And some people I've seen them do it in things
Yeah.
as actors, and I want to punch them in the face, but I'm not allowed to usually. Um,
Loophole.
so for me, it is that that incredible journey we get to do with the fans as this ascends. It's really cool.
That's amazing. That's so cool, man, to hear, that you love it that much and
Oh,
going back to even seeing the originals and now being
yeah,
part of the universe. When it came to the creation of the character, I mean, you're wearing the suit, you're wearing the helmet. Obviously, you've got to come up with the character physically instead of
yeah.
like, did you work with Pedro on that? Was there a bit of back and forward going, okay, this is how I'm gonna act and this is how I'm going to move, and or does it vice versa, like his voice inspired you and your movements inspired him? How does that work?
I mean, I think Pedro inspires everyone. But I mean, honestly, I think both of us, we had to start with John and Dave. I think their vision for who Mando was so specific. Now, we bring our individual, pieces, but
Yeah.
their work before we ever even were invited to see it, um, helped me prepare tremendously. I know what John immediately worked with me and said, "Hey, this is what I want you to look at, and I want you to watch these two movies. Um, I want you to watch Westworld, and I want you to watch Terminator." And their physical, this is season one before we ever started. So he's like, their physical movement in that is very robotic, meaning he didn't make this reference. I thought of it in my head, which was the Tin Man without the heart. There's very much a soulless quality to him on some level that we start with. And hopefully, if I do my job, by the end of season one, you see him become more human
Mm.
through the kid, through understanding what the creed is really about some more. And it's, initially he's a feared bounty hunter with a legendary status. Um, and that's what we see in the beginning a little bit. And then slowly, you peel it away, and he's he's not just a robot who's going to follow the regime. And I go, he starts to question, and really what he does is he starts to define the creed that he spoke. What does it mean to be? And I think that's a question we all have to ask. To answer your question in short, sorry,
Yeah, you're right.
it's a much bigger arc that I'm now finished with the movie. So for me, I'm seeing a lot more of the forest than the trees. But to speak to that, I think John and Dave really defined where we were going, and um, uh, Pedro's seamless in his ability to just, you know, drop in and see what, where and when and how. And Lateef and I probably had more conversations daily, because he'd be on one set doing some crazy stunt, and I'd be acting over here doing something that's physical, but it's really just the acting part, the helmet. And he's like, "Hey, what do I do with my hand here? How do I do this?" And that's what I was clearly able to bring, because of the way I grew up. And it's John Wayne, but also my my generation grew up with, Clint and Silverado and those guys, Young Guns, all that stuff was so important for us. My child making loud noises outside. Um, and so to to have that being a cow, I always wanted to be a cowboy. I always wanted to be the sheriff, whether it was a real Lobo style sheriff or Clint, coming back and cleaning up the town and painting it red, and that's I understood. Hey, every bullet on my belt has a meaning, and the space between the last one and the second to last one is there for a reason. So I know I only have one left, and those like I knew that the holster needed to be down by my thigh, not up on my hip, because if you're quick drawing and you're pulling from your hip, your elbow bends and someone kills you. It's not a gentleman's game, and I love the cowboy ethos and the creed of a cowboy. It coincides with what they did with the Mandalorian, and I think it coincides with what we as individuals in every country we live in, which is the freedom and the ruggedness that we want to follow. So, um, yeah, to answer the question, yes, we worked, but I think it was, I mean, definitely initially, I worked with directors, Bryce, Deb, and Rick, uh, to create what we were going to do.
I love that. I love how it all came together and how
Yeah.
it just fascinates me. Like
Yeah.
it's
I mean,
such a powerful
Lateef and
character.
I would be like FaceTiming. He'd be like, "Do you see that? That's what I got." And like, we'd be going in doing that stuff. Um, and that's how we got through, 17-hour days.
Mate, that's incredible. That's incredible. I know that you're probably gonna have bounty hunters at your door if you say too much, but how's the
Lucasfilm
movie?
police will be on me in a heartbeat.
Yeah, I know. The Disney people. I know you can't say too much, but how was the experience making the movie and working with like Sigourney and stuff?
Oh my God. Chills. You
Yeah,
know, like I'll never not think of her as Ripley.
me too.
Like, and then even then you go, her career is illustrious to say the least. But then you go to Galaxy Quest and you're like, how good are you? Like it's incredible. Um, so, being able to first of all have like Carl Weathers be your mentor. You guys wouldn't have Mando the way you have Mando without him. Like he taught me more in some sidebars, because they want to direct you and all this stuff. And you got to be really careful, especially me in my position, because I'm not walking in as a huge Hollywood star, so I can I'm going to go peacock or whatever. And I think Carl understood that on some levels that I didn't even realize. And the confidence I carried in there for some reason, knowing the character before I ever played him, was good. But Carl allowed it to be great, and it built so that when I finally got to go do the movie, um, what an incredible experience. I never didn't love it. I hate when it's a short day. I hate when they're like, "Hey, we're gonna do so many stunts that we're not gonna use you today." Like in season one, I had one day off. That was it, and I didn't want that. Um, so doing the movie and then learning who's in the movie. I know the teaser's out there, so there's some great fan loves that are appearing, and uh, that was really cool. And to be able to work with the guys I did like Matt Leonard, whose father, Terry Leonard, worked on his first movie was Rio Lobo with my grandfather, and he's an incredible stuntman who did recreated the stunt that Yakima Canet did in Stagecoach, where he goes under and comes around, and did that later on when they redid Stagecoach because it's something he always wanted. And so to know the lineages that are in there, and you'll know who Matt Leonard is when you see the movie, like, and to work with these guys, uh, um, I'm literally going, who do we know that I'm allowed? But like, to work with these guys, like JJ Dash now, the stunt coordinator, you don't get better. And Kim Richards, who's been my AD from the get-go and my uh, surrogate director, um, many a days. Uh, it's incredible, and then to see these people who have bought in and love that they're part of it, so they pop in, like Rick Famuyiwa or Bryce Dallas, and they're coming in because they want to see what's going on because they feel like, hey, I was part of the knitting of this great sweater.
Yeah.
So we get to the movie and we get to do these, incredible things, and I think we've really brought um, the story into what we all fell in love with originally, um, and kind of, really focused it in. And then, somebody says to you, hey, Filoni loves to do this to me. And he'll be like, hey, I got this guy for you. And I'm like, who? It's like Michael Biehn. I'm like, he goes, yeah, and you're gonna have a showdown with him. I'm like, I'm literally gonna have a quick draw with Johnny Rico. This is the greatest, like, like, so you have those moments, and then Dave's, hey, you know, you got Sigourney Weaver. I'm like, what?
Ugh.
Like, I really don't, like, I know enough about stars,
Yeah.
having grown up the way I did, to know that they're extremely human and should be treated that way at all possible costs, because otherwise they might float away. So I don't get starstruck, but I didn't even have to meet her yet, and I was already like,
Oh, mate.
you
I
know what I
would
mean? My like so many different uh fears came into me, and I'm not one who clings on it, but I was like, ah, okay, look her in the eye, don't stumble a lot, like all those things going to, like, and somebody said to me, I don't know if it was Dave or I don't know, they're like, dude, you're the Mandalorian, dude, relax, it's good, you're good. And I was like, yeah, I don't care, but this is another level of star, like just as an actor, like unreal. Like I'm not even close to her level. Um, and she couldn't have been further from star than I don't know how. Like she was just she walked right up to me and was like, "Your work is incredible." And I'm
Oh.
like, "What?" She goes, "No, I know the whole story behind it." She talked to Walter Hill and James Cameron about it, and I was like, this is absolute insanity. Walter Hill, who did the Warriors, who did 48 Hours, like these are guys. I'm like, yeah, I want to do the Warriors. Is he going to redo it? Because I'll go play the Carney in Coney Island. I don't care. Just put me like it was like unbelievable. Um, and so that was really cool. And she really disarmed me with that, you know. And so then I, was able to talk to her as a colleague, I would never say peer because I don't think I'll get there, but she was so cool. And then to watch her work similar to the way I do, where she's, oh, I'm going to say this, and then you see her write down on her script, some ideas or something, and it's still this is a woman who can mail it in, but she doesn't.
Yeah.
It all matters to her. And it was invigorating. It was great. It was a reminder of professionalism and responsibility that I love to have. So to make this movie and then have fun and do the new stuff we did with the kid and the guys from Legacy who created him, and what they keep just they're like a quantum computer, like what they keep allowing us to be able to do in the relationship I can have with, the kid, even though he's animatronic, I don't think of him that way
Yeah, yeah.
anymore. I did initially, but then you learn the guys and girls, who are creating them, and you're like, oh, I see this personality trait, and then all of a sudden I'm, doing the scene with them, and you're saying, Mandalorian isn't all about fighting, it's about navigation, and you got to know where you're going and where you are, and um, he's, looking up and he's doing these things, and you're just like, I can almost forget that like in the scene where he climbs into my bandolier on the N1, and we're flying, and I'm telling him how to navigate or whatever. They've taken the nose of the ship off and they've raised it so I'm higher in the air so that the 6'4", 250-pound puppeteer who's got this, Grogu who's like this big, he's under there doing this in between my legs. I can almost forget that he's there and I can just have this connection with Grogu. So, yeah,
That's
that's a
wild.
shout out to Mike Manziel, who's a legend over at Legacy, and Trevor and those guys, and Con and Tam and Dawn and Jason, all of them incredible. Jason, who, by the way, is a stud who persevered and lost his house in the fires, but it's doing great. So all of them are my family, so they matter to me tremendously.
I love that. I love that, man. I know Zoom's doing this thing where I've only got a couple of minutes left, but
Oh,
it just does a thing where it kicks us off. I hate how Zoom does that. But I
we
did want to
can,
know, outside of Mandalorian, you mentioned Young Guns before.
yeah.
There's talks of Young Guns 3 and all the original crews back on board, apparently.
Wow.
Just leading into the question, is there anything that you'd really love to tackle? Is there a dream role that, you'd
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple, to be honest with you. I mean, I generally don't think in the stars like that very often, but my goal is I definitely want to work on a Taylor Sheridan project. There's one that's coming out with a spin-off with Casey that's coming out that I just read for. We'll see. I think my competition is probably really high, but that's my child bringing me some water.
legend. What a legend.
There's that, and then Ridley Scott has a Western that he wants to do, and I'd, I'd come clean up the stalls for him if I could go work on that. Like that would be incredible. But there's so many, good projects out there. But like I can tell you right now, there's a Taylor Sheridan that's coming soon. I love the his presence in what he writes and all of that. I think it's important. And then a Ridley Scott, come on,
I know.
like
That's
a
that's
Western, a Ridley Scott Western. So we take him out of Roman times, and now we're going to like I'm in 1,000,000%.
mate. I would love to see you do that. Without the mask, without it, just you showing your chops as a gunslinger. Let's go. Ridley.
Yeah, I mean, like,
All Ridley.
let's go.
Yeah.
I'm 100% behind that.
Yeah.
Yes,
Me too.
yes, yeah.
Zoom's just reset again. It's doing some funny things this morning. So maybe it's because we're upside down. I guess,
Maybe.
yeah, I don't know.
What time is it there right now?
It is 7 o'clock in the morning. So I do my stuff early and then I go and do the tradie thing and then I
Yeah.
I'm musician at night and dad. So there you go.
Yes, that's it. That's all day. Trust me, I know. I got three of my own.
Good times. And it was Father's Day yesterday for you, wasn't it?
Yeah, happy Father's Day to you.
Oh,
Do you
thank
have it there?
no, but I appreciate it. Ours is in September, so I still got a little
Oh,
to go.
nice.
Did you have a good
Nice.
day?
I just watched a comedian do a bit on Father's Day. It's 20th on the holidays, and Christmas is number one, and Mother's Day is number two. And he's talked about he said here in America, he's like they celebrate Columbus Day. That's like celebrating a guy who comes into your house and finds 50 bucks, looks at you and says, "Hey, I found 50 bucks of yours in your house. It's mine now." And I could not stop laughing, like I was dying. But yeah, it was
That's
Father's
awesome.
Day. It was good times.
Oh, that's good.
Um, I will tell you this, another trainer I have, uh, Zach Guerin is a training meet guy, and I go with my oldest daughter to this high interval training meet, and he's it's all created by Aussies, and they literally like that's where you hear about the freckle and a few other colorful things, and I love it. There's nothing better.
I did want to ask you, are you looking at getting into directing and get behind the camera as well? Are you got
Oh
a
yeah,
project in mind?
yeah. I have two projects that one that I'm still writing that I created that I mean I'm telling you I think it's a great idea. And I've produced and directed plays. My wife and I learned theater. That's where we met. That's where my acting background is in theater. And then we've moved on. So yeah, 100%, 100%. I think she'd be a better director, but yeah,
That's awesome. And of course, you did mention your grandfather before, and I know you probably get asked about your grandfather a lot.
I don't
Uh,
mind it. He's a
you
pretty
don't
cool
mind
dude.
it. Some people get funny about, I know, but do you feel that when you do step into that to the role of the Mandalorian, do you channel him at all? Do you feel his sort of presence within you coming through the character?
It's funny. I never thought I could because he was 6'5", 250. I'm 6 foot, 180. Okay. So it never really dawned on. I never had that challenge in my head. I
Yeah.
thought, if anything, people are gonna call me in and be disappointed that I'm not this other fella. But John slowed me down. Uh, he understood what it was like to work in a helmet from Iron Man and all that. And he slowed me down. And in doing so, he brought forth the things that John Ford taught my grandfather without me even realizing it. So it was a lot more seamless than if I was like, I'm going to try to be like him. It just
Yeah.
didn't work that way. But there was a moment where Carl Weathers said to me, we were having a hard time, Mando, getting up the back of the Razor Crest because of the way how steep it was when I was coming up, and then he ambushes me. But John didn't like the way it looked coming up, or Dave. And I think we'd done it like 6 times. It was probably our 15th hour of work. He was tired of jumping down and then ambushing me. And he said, "Hey, how would your grandfather do it?" And I was like, "Well, he's this." And he goes, "Stop talking and show me." And so I show him, and he goes, looks at everybody else, all the directors, and say, "How'd that look to you?" It was good, actually. He goes, "Go do it like that." And that was it. That was from that point on, he understood that he had broken a barrier for me. So he could be like, "You're never going to be him. So you're going to do it your way, like him. And that's go be free." And that was a pretty cool thing to be given. That's a gift as far as me as an actor. I was given a gift that allowed me to not overthink.
That's unreal. That's unreal.
Yeah, from, there is no tomorrow, as Apollo Creed would say. Get
Yes,
it done today.
I loved Carl Weathers. Mate, ah, my band actually wrote a song for him.
Did they really?
Inspired by of course, Predator.
I
But
love.
man, yeah, we posted a little tribute to him.
I wish I had my office up right now because I have I think it says Mando Bros, and it says "You son of a bitch, Mando," and it's Carl's arm and my arm is Mando. And it is, I'll show it if you're there at Supernova, I'll have the patch there.
Dude, that's so good. That's so
Yeah.
good. I'm on the Gold Coast, so I'm up north. I do
Oh, yeah,
think,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
but hopefully you're gonna swing back around and see us up here. But I do
I would love
support
it.
Supernova all around the place. Hey, Gold Coast, if you're gonna come up sometime, Gold Coast, we'll grab a beer and a feed and all that stuff. But
100%. I'll meet your son.
oh, his head will explode.
Yeah, let's
He's
go.
probably listening. But mate, thank you so much again for taking the time. It absolutely means the world to me. Have the best time in Sydney at Perth Supernova. And we'll see you soon. This is the way.
This is the way.
Thank you, brother.
Yeah, bro.
Have a good one, dude. Thank you
You
so
too, man.
much.